Has Putin backed Trump on Greenland expansion plan? Why is it dangerous? Explained. Kremlinologists believe that Putin sees US power in Europe fading, which puts Russia at an advantage to seize its chance to establish a multipolar world where it holds its sphere of influence. Russian President Vladimir Putin has seemingly endorsed Donald Trump's potential territorial expansion in Greenland at a forum in the northern Russian city of Murmansk on Thursday, presenting a more comprehensive case than any U.S. official by crafting a historical argument. The US's plans to take control of Greenland may surprise someone only at first glance, and it is a deep mistake to believe that this is some kind of extravagant talk by the new American administration, Putin said at the Arctic Policy Forum. Nothing of the sort. The US wanted to buy Greenland in the 1960s, but Congress would not support the deal, Putin said. It protected the territory from Nazi occupation in the 1940s and made an offer to buy the island that was rebuffed. Even going back to 1910, the US had designs on Greenland, the Russian leader noted, calling the US plan serious with long-standing historical roots. Putin then turned to Alaska, which was sold by the Russian Empire to the US in 1867. Let me remind you that by 1868, the purchase of Alaska was ridiculed in American newspapers, Putin continued. Now, he said, the purchase under President Andrew Johnson had been vindicated. Nanan Kremlinologists believe that Putin sees that US power in Europe is fading. This put Russia at an advantage to seize its chance to establish a multipolar world where it holds its sphere of influence, particularly in Ukraine and Belarus. Putin's idea that a country should not meddle in other countries' business aligns with Trump's transactional view of the world, as well as their deep suspicion of transnational organizations and alliances set up after the Second World War. But as US loses its grip abroad, the White House has declared ambitions throughout the Western Hemisphere in a turn that some commentators have compared to the Monroe Doctrine of 1823, under which the US proclaimed itself the protector of the hemisphere, as per Guardian. Nanan Russia, which controls more territory in the Arctic Circle than any other country, sees that part of the world as critical to its own national interests for the same reasons. In his speech, Putin referenced Russia's need for trade routes through the Arctic and its role as a critical hub of oil and natural gas production. Putin has grown increasingly concerned about what he considers to be the West's encroachment on Russia's influence in the Arctic over the past few years. He was particularly frustrated when Finland and Sweden joined NATO in 2023 and 2024, respectively. Russia, which shares an 800 mile border with Finland, called the country's admittance to NATO a mistake. On US seeking for more influence in the Arctic, Putin said in his speech, the United States has serious plans regarding Greenland. These plans have long historical roots, and it is obvious that the United States will continue to consistently advance its geostrategic, military, political, and economic interests in the Arctic. Putin alluded to the possibility that if the US were to take control of Greenland, it would escalate tensions with Russia. He accused NATO countries of using the Arctic as a springboard for possible conflicts. Nanan Trump has shifted international geopolitics by 1. Ending the war in Ukraine, 2. Reset relations with Russia. The former was part of his promise to make America great again and against Joe Biden's pursuit of war, and the latter was a narrative shift where Russia is not viewed as a permanent security threat. In all scheme of things, the Russian position is clear. European troops on their border, even if termed as peacekeepers, will be labeled combatants. Ukraine will not be part of NATO. There should be a demilitarized buffer zone between Russia and Ukraine. Russia will not return the provinces they have taken over during the war. There will be no ceasefire till these terms are accepted. Moreover, the sanctions will have to be lifted, and the Russians will negotiate for a security architecture with Europe in which they are included, as per the Economic and Political Weekly. It is evident that the Western strategy of destroying the Russian economy and military, isolating it globally, and delegitimizing the Russian leadership has failed. Thus, Russia and the BRICS have played a major role in creating multipolarity, which proved a lifeline for Russia and gives strategic importance to BRICS countries. This redistribution of power is not changing in a hurry in spite of US expansion plans. Nanan Greenland lies in the northern Atlantic Ocean between Europe and America, and has long been a nexus of tensions among global powers. Besides being bigger than Mexico and Saudi Arabia, Greenland has a strategic location straddling the North Atlantic and the Arctic, a region whose vast stores of critical minerals and fossil fuels are coveted by the US, Russia and China. The US operates the Pituffik Space Base, formerly Thule Air Base, on the island, which played a key role during the Cold War and continues to be critical for defense against Russia, China, and North Korea. Greenland's positioning also makes it a key trade route between Western and the Eastern hemispheres. Shipping routes to Asia and Europe through the Arctic are about 40 shorter than others, such as via the Suez and Panama Canals, according to the U.S. Naval Institute, though it cautions shorter shipping routes does not necessarily mean faster or cheaper transport. Greenland has 25 of 34 critical raw materials, according to a 2023 report from the European Commission. Among those deposits are rare earths and graphite, which are critical for the production of EVs. Other rare raw materials include titanium, tungsten, and uranium, which are used in everything from medical devices to light bulb filaments to nuclear fuel. Currently, China dominates the global market for these materials, and has deep reserves of them within its borders. If the US gets to control Greenland's critical resources, it would have its own access to them, thus breaking its reliance on Chinese mining. Nanan before buying Alaska, the US bought the territory of Louisiana from France for $15 million in 1803. There's even a precedent involving Denmark. Under President Andrew Johnson in 1867, the U.S. State Department noted Greenland's resources and location as ideal for acquisition but made no formal efforts. Nearly a century later, President Harry S. Truman offered Denmark $100 million for Greenland in 1946 after recognizing its strategic importance post-World War II. Truman also considered trading parts of Alaska for Greenland, though the deal never materialized. Since the 830,000 square mile 2.1 million square kilometer island isn't currently on the market, there are no valuations available. It's worth noting that its gross domestic product totaled over $3.2 billion in 2021, according to the World Bank. The island receives an annual subsidy of around $600 million from Denmark. For perspective, the purchase price of Alaska in 1867, $7.2 million, would translate to just over $150 million today, which most would agree would be quite a bargain, as per Bloomberg. The government of Greenland, which is an autonomous region of Denmark, has adamantly rejected any notion that it would become part of the U.S. Both political leaders and citizens have said they have no intention of joining the U.S., while Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen said the island was not for sale, and that Trump's interest in Greenland was not a joke. Nan